So for me, yeah, the best time to practice it is when I'm moving, like hiking and all. But yeah, so you can do it on the treadmill. Great, great. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other reports? Are you practicing? Great. I see some nodding heads. Yeah.
I understand
Yeah, I find it very relaxing to allow my attention to go to whatever and just be aware of where it's going and not trying to focus it on one thing and keep it there. It feels very relaxing, restful.
Ah, oh, wonderful.
No efforting.
Yeah, no efforting. Yeah. And that's Shinzen Young calls it choiceless awareness, which you've probably heard that word before, but what I love is with unified mindfulness is that that's how you start right off. And that's the way we normally are, but the only difference is we're paying attention to what we normally do, you know. So in other words, we're mindful. Great, great, Paul. Anybody else?
The most important thing you said to me, or said last week,
Yeah,
was 30% of people don't do well meditating with breath.
right.
I never have.
See? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's the beauty of this is that you learn that you can focus on anything. And I couldn't focus on the breath either because every time we got to the end of the inhale, then my mind would wander. So
Yep.
it was like, it's like, forget it. And, and then I found that the thing that worked for me for the last 20 years before I found unified mindfulness was to focus on a continuous sound. So if there was like an airplane or a machine going, the refrigerator, the sound, or, a lawnmower. And I hate to say fortunately, but I can also listen to the ringing in my ears because that's constant. So there was no stopping it. So that's how I was able to actually learn how to concentrate. Yeah, so great. Yeah. And then what happens is people, if you're taught to focus on the breath and you can't, then you figure, well, then I can't meditate. So that is a problem. Yeah. Well, great. Okay. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you.
And Jennifer, this is your first time. Where are you calling in from?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. And let's see. Okay, so anybody else, any reports about your practice, your homework? Hi, Susan.
I was just thinking about it this evening as I was walking my dog a little bit ago. I'm outside and it's beautiful. And I love this time of year with the sun at the angle that it is, the way the light hits everything. We got a beautiful September blue sky and leaves are still very green on the trees. And it catches my attention very easily. And I start to become conscious of saying, see.
Uh-huh.
But then what I almost immediately recognize is that there's a feeling that comes along with seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so then my little monkey mind starts trying to figure out whether I'm supposed to be seeing or feeling or seeing and feeling. Okay. So I'll let you answer that question.
Yeah, great question. Great question. Just choose one. That's the answer. So, because it's like, for example, if you hear a fire truck going by, you may have an image of a fire truck in your mind. So one sense will trigger another one. So first off, that's insightful, knowing that you've got more than one sense active at a time. So you can pat yourself on the back for that. And second, just like I say, yeah, good, there you go. And then just choose one to focus on. Yeah, that's all. Because also it can become overwhelming if you're open to whatever is coming up. You could have them all active at the same time. So that's why you can say to yourself, all right, I'm just going to focus on whatever I choose. And then you let everything else go in the background. We'll be practicing some of that tonight too, when we're practicing feel rest. So yeah, thanks, Marie. Angelisa.
There we go. Hi. So I found I'm loving the practice and I'm doing it daily at different times of the day, actually.
Wonderful.
And all the things that have been said, I say yes to all of them. And, you know, it seems very humane, like a really natural and harmonious way to learn to be mindful, because this is the nature of my mind. It does go from one thing to another. And trying to box it in is a frustrating experience that doesn't work out very well.
Yeah.
And I end up thinking, like you said, maybe I'm not a meditator, maybe I don't have the capacity, but I don't believe that. And we just have to figure out what works, right? What I do notice that I have some questions about is that when we first started, you said thinking was treated as another sense.
Right.
And you didn't put it in our homework this time. We were
Right.
seeing, feeling, or hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do notice is thinking is quite present. And I notice it after the fact, whereas I notice the others pretty quick, like the seeing and the hearing, pretty much. It is also after, like it happens, and then, oh yeah, I'm seeing right now. Oh yeah, I'm hearing right now. But the thinking, I realize it a little after that. There's a longer gap.
Yeah. Hindsight. Normally that's what happens when we first start paying attention to and starting to notice that we're thinking, is that it's hindsight. The thoughts are gone. And then we go, oh yeah, I was just thinking that thing. So it's good to know that that's what's happening. And what will happen eventually, because part of the practice, and we'll be doing that later too, is where you sit and bring your attention spatially, like we did last week, to just where you hear, and you get used to looking for sound that's happening in your mind. And if you look at it that way, it kind of helps to take out the content of the thoughts, because what happens is, the reason partly why we don't catch it while it's happening is that we get into the content of it. So it's like learning how to pay attention to the activity of thinking, or the contour of thinking, as opposed to the content. But that, just to know that it takes practice, and to just notice, okay, there was a thought, I'm coming back to where I hear it. Or where did I hear it? Even ask the question, where did I just hear it? And, I think I don't know whether I mentioned, probably not last week, but I noticed it when I first heard that you could hear thoughts in different parts of your head. I thought, yeah, that didn't sound real to me. But I decided, hey, I'm a good student, I'm going to try it. And what I discovered is, thank you, Paul. What I discovered is that when I'm imagining, let's say, someone yelling at me, I feel it in the back of my head. And when the teacher in me, when I'm teaching, in my mind, I'm imagining teaching, I feel it sort of in this part of the head, starting here forward. So it's like, oh, okay, you start noticing, where am I actually feeling particular kinds of thoughts, flavors of thoughts, yeah. And then that helps you to actually recognize that you're thinking now. So it's like learning how to sort of step back from it, yeah. So great question. Thank you, Angelisa. Does that help?
Yeah, I guess what I'm hearing is, yeah, worry not. You're right. You're among good company.
Right.
Okay, part of the learning curve. Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, anybody else? Any other questions or reports? Okay, so then what I want to do is I'm going to share my screen and pull up the handout that I sent you. And we'll just take a quick look at it. If you've got it, you can follow along with it. Does everybody see that now? Okay, so feel rest. Let me just get over here. I got to move it. So there we go. Means, okay, I'm going to come down here. Feel rest means that you're appreciating the restful aspect of body experience. So what is rest? All right. I come over here into the sidebar. Rest is the relative absence of sensory experiences in any sense category, whether you see, hear, or feel. Today we'll only be focusing on feel, because it's much easier to pay attention to a quiet body and to create a quiet body than it is a mind. Oh,
Donna, are we supposed to be seeing this? Because I'm not
Yeah,
seeing.
yeah, you should be seeing it. Okay.
I don't see it.
Anybody else seeing it?
I do.
Okay. It's odd that you can't see it then, Maggie. Hmm.
Hmm.
Do you
I don't
have
know.
your own anyway? Do you have the handout that I sent out?
You know, I didn't get your email for
Oh.
Zoom at all this week.
Oh,
Not
Okay.
yesterday and not today. So
Okay.
I don't know, something's weird.
something's wrong, yeah.
Sorry. Yep.
Well, I'll bring it to you for class tomorrow because Maggie comes to, I won't see you tomorrow. But anyway, I'll send it off again, yeah, to you. But, well, you're just going to have to learn by listening and not seeing. Sorry, Maggie. So the rest is the relative absence of sensory experience in any sense category. And focusing on rest is placing your attention where you notice less activation. Okay. So in other words, placing your attention sometimes on the hands, there's not much activity. Earlobes, most of the time people can't feel their earlobes, or your elbows. So even that, to know that, and most people can't feel inside their skull. Not always, but so you kind of let your attention roam around your body and notice where there's just not much activation. And that would be called rest. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, the space. Okay, so let me come down here for, let's say, oh, well, I pretty much just explained what all of that means. So how would this be using mindfulness? You're focusing on just rest. Okay, that builds your concentration. In other words, restricting your attention to rest, the restful quality of your experience. And then playing with and trying to detect the restful quality of your experience strengthens your sensory clarity. And then contacting rest itself can help induce equanimity. So I do want to point out what you watch out for is that sometimes discomfort can spread when you relax because you're dropping your resistance. So it's important to remember that that's a good thing, that you're releasing trapped tension. So what you do is focus on rest and then have the background equanimity with the discomfort. Okay. And anything else that comes up too. So we'll talk more about that during the guidance. So, okay, I'm going to stop the share. Carol has no sound at all. Let me see if I can unmute you, Carol. Let me try that.
I have it now, Donna.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I went out and restarted the computer and
That's why. Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, so what's important to me is why bother practicing? All right. So the first most important reason is that tranquility or rest feels good. And being a hedonist, which I know Susan knows, I've known Susan for 30 some odd years. I don't know. We used to swim in my river in Connecticut. So anyway, so to me, that's the most important thing. Rest does feel good. Tranquility feels good. And it creates a positive feedback loop. So it makes you want to practice more. And of course, the more you practice, the better you feel. Okay, like I said, I can't think of any better reason, but there are some that are better. Secondly, it's always available. So because we can create rest in our bodies by relaxing. So that's the other reason to practice. And learning, the third thing, okay, learning to detect and concentrate on restful states increases our ability to be fulfilled independent of circumstances. Now, that sounds like a tall order, but it's like what we can do is create a kind of self-contained contentment that we can access anytime. And the more we practice, the better we get at it, okay? And that becomes really important. If, let's say, your life situation deprives you of the usual kind of external sources of fulfillment, or it's like crucial because, let's say, you have chronic illness or responsibilities you can't get away from, then the ability to be able to find a sense of contentment regardless of what's going on is gives you a sense of confidence, you know, like I can face anything because I know where I can find peace, right? That's an important. And then the fourth thing would be it's like a warm up for other reward states. Okay. So the more open, when you're relaxed and open, then that sets you up to be able to you build a palette for spaciousness or the sense of flow, you know, going with the flow, that being in the zone kind of thing. So it sets you up for that. So there's lots of really good reasons to practice rest. In fact, it's one of those that I practice most often, especially if I'm trying to go to sleep at night and the mind is busy, then just focusing on rest and just repeating the label, feel rest, just somehow the rest, using that word, it tells my mind what I'm supposed to be doing instead of rambling on. And as Shinzen Young says, so even if you don't get a good night's sleep, you get a good night's rest. So, yay, I love that. And so anyway, the other thing I want to bring up and just mention is the relative rest versus absolute rest. Okay. It may not be relevant to you now, but at some point it may be. And the difference, so relative rest is when we notice that either the body is rested or that there's not so much activity going on. Like I said, becoming aware of the earlobes and, you know, there's no feeling there. So that would be relative rest. Or you're in a noisy room and then somebody leaves or whoever was making the noise and then it's quiet. So that would be relative rest, the quiet, okay? But absolute rest is transcendent and pervasive. And so it doesn't matter whether there's relative rest or active rest going on. So I just bring that up because at some point it might be relative to you, to your practice. And so it's just good to know that that's possible. And it's kind of in Buddhism, it's called the self has no sense of separateness from the world. Okay. But anyway, that just to know that that's possible. And if you have any questions about that, and I can't answer them, then I know people who can. So that's the beauty of you taking the class now, because I have all these great coaches that I can turn to. So anyway, any questions so far? Okay, then. So I think we should practice, and then you'll probably have questions after we practice. And then after we do just getting used to what it's like, I'll give you cues for finding or creating rest in the body. And then what we'll do is circle back and a guided practice of how does focusing on rest work with or increase the 5 facets of happiness. We're only going to focus on the first 2, but anyway, we'll talk about that when we get there. So, okay, so if you're ready to practice, you can take a good deep breath. And maybe slow the breath down. And if you don't have your, if you're not muted, please do that now, just in case, so we don't have background noise. And so find a tall, straight, yet relaxed posture. And sort of stretching up and settling into your meditative posture. And bringing the attention to the restful side of your body experience. That would be physical relaxation or emotional peace. And we'll talk about that, what that is in a moment. But when you're aware of rest in your body, you can note that and label that as feel rest. Feel rest. So restful experiences may be in a small part of the body or a large part of your body. And it could be over the whole body. It may be intense, it may be subtle. Either is fine. And if you can't find any part of the body that's restful, you can always focus on a part that's not active, doesn't have any sensation or very little. If you're not able to find it in the body, you're not sure whether you're connecting with this experience, then you can always find it in the exhalations. We can notice how the chest or belly relaxes when we exhale. Just finding that softening, that release, that opening. Or you can consciously relax the muscles. If they don't relax on command, you can tense them and then release that tension. For example, squeezing your hands, making a fist, or pointing your toes, tightening the buttocks, and then release. And feel that soothing sense of relaxation. Letting the shoulders drop down and back. And relaxing the muscles around the eyes. If your eyes are open, you can soften your gaze. So looking through the world rather than at something in particular. If the mind is still busy, finding it hard to concentrate, sometimes using a label can be helpful. So you could use whatever word works for you. Relaxed, open, tranquil, rest. So by way of demonstration, I'll do the labeling out loud. So it would sound something like this. Rest. 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 And if you're trying it, see if you can keep a regular rhythm to it. And now noticing your emotional state. Is it pleasant? unpleasant, or neutral. If it's neutral, then note and label it. Feel rest. If the rest that you're noting drops away or drops off, you can note that moment as gone. And if the mind and body are agitated, it can be very difficult to detect rest. So know that if you practice, it won't take long before you begin to recognize tranquility. If your attention gets drawn into what you hear or see in your mind, or maybe even other sensations in your body, just simply allow those to be in the background of your attention, of your awareness. No need to push them away. Just intentionally get curious about coming back to this quality of rest and relaxation. If you're hearing stressful mental talk, no need to try and stop it. Just try to greet it in a calm, matter-of-fact way. Again, allowing it to be in the background of your attention. You might notice a very pleasant quality and restfulness that makes it easier to focus. The more you focus on rest, the more relaxed you become. And the more relaxed you become, the easier it is to focus on rest. And the rest may be subtle, may be hard to detect sometimes. It's totally fine. Just do your best to stay with whatever subtle experience of rest that you can find or create. And this strengthens your concentration and your sensory clarity. So we're noticing rest in a small part of the body or over the whole body, either finding the restfulness that's already there or intentionally creating it by relaxing or exhaling. So as you continue to focus on that quality of rest that you feel in your body, if your eyes are closed, you may slowly want to begin to open them while paying attention to rest. So let your gaze be soft and just take in the image of the space in front of you and notice what it's like to have your eyes open, to be engaged in the space around you, and attending to relaxation in the body. So as we're talking, as we make the transition, you can develop background rest. And before we end, as we transition from this meditation, just check in with yourself and see if you feel any different now than when you began. See if you notice any positive rewards, however subtle. Maybe feeling a bit more grounded or relaxed or focused. And it's good to get into the habit as you transition out of practice to noticing how you feel as a result of practice. And then acknowledge yourself for doing this work. It can be challenging, especially in the beginning. So notice even as your eyes are open, if you can still contact rest in the background. Okay. And then when you're ready, I look forward to hearing reports, comments, questions. Everybody's so restful they can't talk. Yes, Heidi. Oh, let me unmute you if I can. Let's see. There we go. Ask to unmute. That didn't work. There we go. Try that. There you go.
Well, I'm not at home. I'm, like I said, at a friend's house,
Yeah.
and it's different. And I had a hard time to unwind and relax, so I kept my eyes open, and I'm in a little guest bedroom, and I saw a bouquet of roses and fake roses. So I looked at them, and all of a sudden I started to calm down because I saw myself walking in Hamburg, my hometown, to the beautiful rose garden. And I saw the different colors and smelled, and I got I got peace, and I felt so relaxed and so happy. So I had the roses in front of me the whole time.
So you were using an image.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Peace. Yeah.
Because I couldn't relax closing my eyes, and that's why I kept.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it helped me. I feel good.
Pardon me?
I feel good now.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, and I think when we're in a new space, the eye, when we close the eyes, we don't feel as safe because
Okay.
it's new, and so that would make it harder to relax.
Yeah.
And if you're not used to relaxing with the eyes open, that also makes it harder. But your ability to have an image and create an image in your mind that actually induced a sense of peacefulness. So that's wonderful. Great.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
that's cool because we can use different our different senses
Yeah.
to create feeling good or feeling peace. So
yeah, thank
thank you for that report. It's beautiful. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, well, I kept falling asleep when I closed my eyes. I felt restful falling asleep. But I also noticed that the state of nothing positive or negative, just neutral,
Mm.
something that I experience, but then I go looking for something that's going on. So I don't stay there. So it was helpful to label that as rest, like, oh, okay, so that's what that is.
Yeah. Because most people don't even know that, oh, you can have a neutral. I mean, that was like news to me that you can actually have neutral emotions or, no emotion at all. Yeah. So, and interesting that your mind immediately wanted to go find something to focus on to
Yeah.
make it pleasant or unpleasant. Yeah. So, and that kind of makes sense that it would, but what's great is that you recognize using the label of rest kept reminding you to stay with that sense of neutrality, emotional neutrality. Yeah, excellent. Great report. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else want to share or questions? Yes, Angelisa.
Yeah, hi. So I'm experiencing a lovely thing that's a little bit new, but I think I've experienced it before, perhaps during meditation. And that is that this outside, I call it the luminous field. It's like a field in which everything else is, my chairs, my house, my window, my tree, it's all here, but underneath all that is nothing. And I'm feeling this extended feeling of the nothing throughout my environment and the nothing inside of myself
Mm.
as one nothing.
Ah, yeah. And as you're moving your hands, was there sensations of undulation or is that
No,
just,
I just noticed I could focus
okay.
on this nothing out in the world,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
I could focus it on the nothing inside my restful body,
Mm.
and they were the same nothing. So my
Ah,
attention would go to one or the other, but
yeah.
there was sort of this understanding that they were the same, like a body of water.
Yeah. Like the ocean, all the
Yeah,
same thing. Yeah. A wave is still part of the ocean. Yeah.
right. I could put my attention there or here,
Mm-hmm.
or I could soften, like when you go into peripheral vision and you don't
Yep.
necessarily look at the thing in front of you, but you let your eyes just take it all in.
Yep.
That was sort of how I was playing with it.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and that would be, again, you were at moments experiencing a sense of separation from the world, but at other moments there was like, it was all the same thing. So there was no separation. That would be like an example of that absolute rest that I talked about earlier. So,
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I was approximating that.
yeah. Oh, wonderful. When you were practicing rest that quickly, that's beautiful. Yeah. What was I going to say about the rest? Well, anyway, I lost it, but it'll come later. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's wonderful. Okay. Anybody else have a report or question? If not, we'll do another practice. This practice that I'll just wait for a second in case somebody does have something. Because sometimes people are afraid to speak up and they're trying to formulate their thoughts. Yeah. Okay. This next practice that we'll be doing, it's also just feel rest, but I edited it from the app called Bright Mind. And the person who developed that app is one of Shinzen Young's students. And you probably all know at this point that Shinzen Young is the designer of unified mindfulness. And what's really cool is this afternoon, I got a email from him saying, give 1 month free to Brightmind app to your friends. So I'll send you out a link to that, and you can, I highly recommend it. Because what he does is when he gives you, whether you're focusing on rest, on flow, on what see, hear, feel, he gives you how they will induce or increase the 5 facets of happiness. And he goes through all of them. The 5 facets of happiness would be reduce stress, increase fulfillment, understand yourself at deepest level, improve your skills. That's either fun or useful or character skills. And the 5th one is improve the world. So, but we're going to just do the first 2, reduce stress and increase fulfillment or happiness. So, because I really like that if I'm practicing, what am I going to get out of it? So it's just kind of nice to get a sense of that. So again, you can get his app and do it for free and learn about the other 3 facets of happiness. So let's start. We've got a few minutes. Yeah, we've got time. So, okay. Again, you want to lengthen your spine, lengthen the back of your neck, helps to relax your neck. Maybe if you keep your elbows behind the plane of the chest, that also helps to keep you upright, keeps you from hunching over. And maybe take a couple of good deep breaths. Okay. So now we'll be exploring how focusing on rest can reduce stress. So if you're not currently experiencing stress, simply continue to practice feel rest. And if you are currently experiencing stress, here are some tips. Focusing on rest counts as a turn-away strategy because we're not focusing on the current source of stress. So as with all turn-away strategies, background balance or equanimity is the most important. So as you focus away from the current source of stress, fully allow the stress to come and go without push or pull in the background of your awareness. To the extent that you allow the stress to come and go in the background, the stress will bother you less. The stress may not go away, but it'll bother you less. The bother will. So we're focusing on letting the attention roam any parts of the body where it feels as if there's rest or lack of any activity or relaxation. In addition to paying attention to the tone of your labels, here are some things that might help you increase your equanimity or sense of inner balance. Taking a few deep breaths, putting a slight smile on your face, or maintaining global relaxation over the whole body. Sometimes, when focusing on rest, the rest seeps into other parts of your experience. For example, focusing on silence in our environment might cause mental talk to quiet, or focusing on relaxation might cause the emotions to die down. So, this is another way that focusing on rest can take the edge off of stress. So maybe using the labels feel, rest, feel, rest. And now let's explore be more fulfilled. People often find rest to be inherently pleasurable. Focusing on relaxation in the body just feels good. Or noticing quiet in the mind can be a wonderful relief. So apply the same concentration, clarity, and equanimity to rest that you would any experience that you're focusing on. The more mindfulness you bring to rest, the more fulfilling the experience becomes. The underlying amount of pleasure in the experience may not change, but the amount of fulfillment that you get from it goes up. Foreground equanimity or inner balance, and particularly not pulling on the experience, is important here. So if you're experiencing a sense of pleasure from feeling rest, just allow it to do its thing. Most noting and labeling practices involve working with whatever experiences naturally arise. However, focusing on rest is somewhat unique in that we can choose to intentionally create rest to focus on. So these practices offer a unique opportunity for fulfillment on demand. So if your mind is wandering, you might want to remember to speak your labels perhaps out loud if you're alone, or even whisper them if you're with someone, and that will help you practice concentration. So in a moment, we'll transition from this practice to interacting. So again, noticing if you've received any reward flavors and seeing if you can bring some of that sense of rest into our interaction. And whenever you're ready, opening your eyes. And whenever you'd like to share reports, questions. Did it become clear how you can develop either reducing your stress or by focusing on rest or by increasing your fulfillment or happiness by focusing on rest? I don't see any nodding heads, so maybe yes, maybe okay. Okay, thank you, Angelisa. Yeah. No questions or comments? Okay.
I have a question slash comment.
Sure.
So I found that there was this moment in the second practice where my body was fully relaxed, but I could kind of feel my thinking mind becoming separate from my body. And after a little while, you reminded us to use the labels, and it helped kind of reground and re-center all of that, which was really interesting. It felt more like a grounded experience and a little less free, like free flowing without control, which was interesting.
So when you started using the label, that helped you then to recognize, what do I want to say, to sort of slow the mind down, it sounds like, because the mind was more active and yet the body was relaxed at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. So there was wanting a sort of connection so that everything could slow down. And then the label helped to bring the mind, slow the mind down. Wonderful. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's the beauty of using labels, because as we're using them, that gives us repeatedly a sense of what basic mindfulness is. And we'll know if we're mindful if we're using those labels. So at first, you might think, well, why bother? But it really does make a difference. And clearly you saw that did make a difference to, as you said, feel more grounded and connected. Yeah, great. Thank you. Now you said there was a question in there though. Was there?
Maybe I was having a little trouble sorting out what was happening, but I think speaking out loud and hearing some of your context helped
Got it.
put
Okay,
that
great,
together.
great, wonderful. Super. Okay. Heidi, did you raise your hand? Yeah, let me unmute you. I gotta unmute you. See if you can unmute. You need to unmute yourself. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, I had the same experience, and my body was relaxed, but my mind was not. And so I thought about something beautiful, what happens every day to me, and then I was going to start to relax. And yeah.
So you were able, you actually noticed the two too. That's interesting that both of you did that. That's wonderful though, because
Yeah.
for both of you, that's a sense of insight. It's like be able to and sensory clarity to be able to separate those out and know, oh, my mind is active, but my body's relaxed. That's great.
Yeah.
And also, again, you were clearly you're able to use images to
Yeah.
slow down your mind, though. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It depends. Yeah, and that it's wonderful to get to know what will help me slow down the mind. You know, we
Yeah.
may be using the labels, it may be thinking of an image that I really, like you said, that's beautiful. So
yeah.
thank you, Heidi.
It's
Great. Anybody else? Okay. Well, we only have a couple of minutes left. If you do have questions and you think about it, just let me know as we close out, and then just say that you want to ask it, and I'll stay on afterwards. But I want to make sure I give you your homework. And let's see. Oh, I also wanted to point out, how do you choose what to practice on? Okay, when should I practice what? Because we'll be learning several techniques over time. It's Shinzen Young says it's based on interest, opportunity, or necessity. So whatever you're interested in, you focus on, or you may have the opportunity, you know, like Heidi, a beautiful image came up, so you focused on that to achieve what you wanted to achieve. And then necessity, you know, if you're in a situation where a boring situation, you may want to focus on boredom and find out that it's boredom is a sensation because it's an emotion. And then it becomes interesting because it's not boring anymore. But if you're in a boring environment, you may want to focus on, you know, find a way, something to focus on, or in other words, you're working with, so that you're not sitting there allowing yourself to be bored, you know, unless you enjoy being bored. Unlikely, but anyway. So based on, and ION is a way to remember it. ION, interest, opportunity, and necessity. So that's how you can choose, what should I focus on now? Okay, ION. And so for your homework, 10 minutes of formal practice of feel rest technique. So do that every day, 10 minutes, okay? That's all you have to do, it's not a lot. And even if you can't do it in 10 minutes, you can do it like 2 minutes, 5 times a day, if in fact you can't get it all in 10 minutes, okay? And then optional, you can optional other formal practice like see, hear, feel technique, and the other thing that to try is working with background rest. So a great time to practice background rest is if you're standing in line at a store, because you're focused on what you have to do, but you're standing there waiting. So you're not, all your attention isn't on what you have to do, like if you're waiting to get your coffee or something. So you can put part of your attention on feeling rest while you wait, instead of putting your attention on being impatient, that you have to wait in line. So, yeah, it can be fun. So anyway, okay, so that's your homework, and I'll send out a list of what that is too, just to remind you. So, but if there's any questions, people want to stay on afterwards, you're welcome to. Otherwise, you can always email me. And thank you for those of you who have sent in. So it gives me a sense of what you're trying to get out of, and also a way to get to know you and what you want to learn. So thank you for that too. So, thank you all for being here. practicing with me. It's wonderful.
Thank you,
Blessings.
Donna.
Thank you,
Thank
Donna.
Thank
See you
you.
next week. Okay. Mwah.
Bye-bye. Bye.
See you tomorrow, Donna.
Okay.
Thank you, Donna.
Great. Great.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Donna,
Yeah.
Donna, would you check if I was on the emails from
Yeah, I'm
yesterday
gonna do that. Yes.
and an hour ago? Because I can't find any of those.
Okay. Thank
If
you
you
for letting
check,
me know that.
And
I'll make sure.
my sister Ann Brill was,
Yeah.
I thought she might be here tonight,
Oh,
but
she
I
told me,
haven't-
she sent me a text that she could, I mean, a message that she
Oh,
wouldn't.
that was Jeannie.
No,
Jeannie
both of them did. Even
Oh, both
even
did.
yeah.
Oh,
they-
okay, okay. They didn't, Annie didn't let me know. We haven't been
Okay.
communicating so great lately, but another
Okay.
story.
Okay.
Okay, all right, yeah, if you would just check that, because, and then I don't know why your
Yeah,
stuff.
sorry.
comes
Yeah,
up on the
I'll
screen for me.
sure.
I don't know what's up with that. Okay,
Okay.
anyway,
I'll let you
all
know.
right, thank you. And I'll be on
Welcome.
Zoom